The Alliance blog, the highest blog, Alliance. If you put an S in front of Alliance, you have Salience.
This is David Goldie, your World Wrestling Grand Prix champion, and you're listening to the Alliance Guys podcast.
We hate it! You already know who it is. The radioactive pop getting loud like Neidhart Wrestling World Heavyweight Champion. And make sure you tune into the Alliance blog every week. You heard it here first. Straight from Bobby.
Building an alliance.
Will you join us?
It's showtime.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We are tonight's entertainment.
You're not here, you missing out, because this show...
Ladies and gentlemen.
All right, listen up.
And now, the moment you've all been waiting for.
It's time for the Alliance Guys podcast.
Welcome to the Alliance Guys podcast, a presentation of Alliance-Wrestling.com, your number one source for news and information for the National Wrestling Alliance. My name is Jay Cal, and normally I'm joined here on Thursday nights with our pal DKM. However, Mr. Mercer is taking some time away from the podcast, so that means that I had to find some reinforcements. Now, obviously, you guys are quite familiar with our pal Rick Del Santo, the professor. Welcome to the show, Rick. You're still muted just in case. But tonight we're also introducing a new friend. You guys have seen him in the chat before, but this will be his first time on the Alliance Guys, and we're Double D. Devin Dowling, what's up, man?
Hey, guys.
Welcome to the show, brother.
I'm excited to be here. Rick, it's nice to officially meet you.
Nice to meet you, sir.
Now, both of you guys are on the East Coast. Double D, you're like in upstate New York, right?
Yes, sir. About an hour and a half northeast of Syracuse.
Okay.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And Rick, I always forget where you're at.
I am about 15 minutes outside New Haven, Connecticut.
Okay. And both of you guys are, it's like 8 o'clock over there. It's like my bedtime where you're at. So, but we got a full bank of people in the chat hanging out. And Luther says, another face to the name. Welcome, Double D. Big Daddy Devin. That's right. Congratulations, by the way, officially Papa Devin now, the PDD.
Thank you. Thank you.
Noobs in the house. I would be remiss if I didn't do the Willie Bowen Tyrus joke of the day, which is, hi guys, Tyrus is so greedy he will eat all the food up at the homeless shelter. Where is he? Oh, here he is. That's right. Just wow. That's it. That's the take. Anyways,
you gotta get one of those NWA belts put on him.
I have one. It won't fit on him because he's, well,
I put it over his shoulder.
It might not even fit there. We are marching, gentlemen, to the Crockett Cup, and I feel like all roads lead to the 2300 arena out there in Philly. A place that I've been to once before, a place that I will be going to once again in just a few weeks. I got to book a hotel room. And I'm getting kind of excited. You guys are hearing some of the names that are announced to be part of like the show, the experience. They're going to be doing an autograph signing. They've announced Earl Hebner as part of the autograph signing and Gail Kim. Gail Kim obviously just recently departed ways with TNA wrestling. And I don't know what Gail Kim does at this point. I know she was behind the scenes working with talent relations, but what is Gail Kim? What value can she bring to the NWA outside of being a former Knockouts champion? Go for you first, Double D.
All right, so Gail Kim, she's of course a Knockouts legend. She's had legendary matches all across the world, in Japan as well. So I think she definitely can bring her knowledge, just like Jazz has been backstage and stuff. Same thing that I think Natalya is going to do, but we haven't really mentioned her yet. But same thing that she's going to do backstage, I'm sure, for some of these younger girls.
Well, with the division the way it is, do you think there's any chance that Gail's coming in to wrestle?
I think she possibly could. I mean, I wouldn't doubt it at all. I mean, we talked about in the past. You talked about Ruthie J's departure, and I mean, we've seen a couple other people depart, like Ella Envy, and I wouldn't doubt it at all.
What about you? Oh, I think Rick might be frozen. We'll bring him back in. Yeah, we lost Rick. He'll be back, I'm sure. The thing about the NWA, and I'm not saying this to be, I'm not trying to put anyone down, but Gail Kim, who had this illustrious career within TNA wrestling, like you said, a legend, former Knockouts champion, she had a cup of coffee with the WWE, and she definitely turned some heads. At this point in the game, I don't know if she brings value as a wrestler. Obviously, I think she could bring something to the table with the knowledge and the experience and the agency, if you will. Like, I mean, she was working with talent relations with TNA wrestling. She could still produce a match. I'm positive of that. But I don't know what role they plan to have for her. And I know she'll be there to sign autographs, and that might just be it. She might just be there to sign autographs, the meet and greet, say hello. But I'm not really anticipating her stepping into the ring. That's not to say that I wouldn't be interested in seeing what she still has in terms of like gas in the tank. But I don't think that's what we're going to see on Saturday, May 17th. And then Earl Hebner is going to be there, part of the autograph signing as well. Obviously, his illustrious career with the WWE and TNA as a as a referee. Surely he has some knowledge to share with that locker room, if they're willing to listen. And obviously he has some stories to tell, but I don't believe like this is an addition to the roster either. I think this is just hey, we're doing a show and come sign some autographs and hang out. Rick, we were talking about Gail and Earl. Do you see Gail being in a active wrestling role, or do you see her kind of remaining behind the scenes at this day and age?
She did not have a very long wrestling career as far as an active competitor, going from WWE to TNA, and then kind of just got involved behind the scenes after that. I don't see her necessarily becoming a full-time professional wrestler again. Maybe a one-off, maybe. And then getting behind the scenes a little bit, helping out with the women's division, maybe bringing in some more talent, agenting a little bit if she sticks with the NWA. I mean, I'm sure that there's many places that would be interested in hiring her for such a role, possibly NXT as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think clearly with the experiences that she had, I mean, AEW could always benefit from some more female driven leadership, and of course NXT, even the main roster. I mean, the WWE does not take that legend status lightly, and even though Gail Kim's the majority of her success in her career was with TNA, I still think that they would see value in what she was able to bring to the table for Total Nonstop Action, impact, if you will. But I don't know that at this day and age, I don't see her jumping back into the ring. Now, I think it'd be kind of cool if she did, especially, the big idea, at least that's the push that we're kind of feeling right now, is that especially after last Thursday at Bloodsport, it seems like the NWA is gearing up for a Natalya Neidhart versus Kenzie Paige match, with the Burke potentially being on the line. And I feel like that's the best way to use Natty Neidhart. But you still have Natalya Markova, who's on the roster, who I feel like could definitely benefit from having a premium opponent at the show. And then also on top of that, it's the Crockett Cup. There's going to be a lot of tag team wrestling. And unlike last year, I don't think they've had the opportunity to tape, playing matches. Last year they had started the tournament before the Crockett Cup actually took place in Forney, Texas. They had shot matches, the beginning part of the tournament leading up to Crockett Cup. But this year, the way that the TV tapings have shaken out, they did their they did Hard Times 5, and they haven't taped anything else. And May is the next date, which is only a couple of weeks away. So it's not like they even have time to go in and tape more footage, unless they had planned for that ahead of time and did tag team matches back in February. What is your take on that, Double D?
Yeah, I just want to touch on especially the Natalya Markova part. I think that's leaning towards her being booked against like a Kylie Paige. If we're seeing Kenzie versus the other Natalya, not Natalya Neidhart. But so I mean, that's just personally what I think. We might see those two matches at Crockett Cup. But
the thing I think I'm scared of is that they're going to give us Natty and Natalya versus like Kenzie and Kylie, which I don't hate. Right, I don't hate. But, man, I want to see Natty Neidhart win the Burke. Like, I think that would be such a game-changer moment for the NWA. I think people would literally stop what they're doing and go to the internet like, wait, what? Natty Neidhart just won the NWA Women's World Championship? How does that even happen? Rick, what do you think about that? Do you think that that's a game-changer?
Look at it as the ways when Cody Rhodes came in and beat Nick Aldis for the title. It got the NWA some more attention after being kind of stagnant for a number of years. The same thing could happen here, but Natty's a current WWE superstar. At that time, Cody was kind of bouncing back and forth between New Japan and Ring of Honor and all sorts of promotions and stuff. Not that he wasn't a big name, because he definitely was, but he was building his own story at that time for
sure.
But I think that if
what got me here, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
So
but it's
it's
my favorites of all time.
Me too, as well, because I was a huge Nick Aldis fan going in, and that whole event kind of just it was a game changer for the world of professional wrestling as a whole in the modern era. But I think that if Natty Neidhart won the title, I think that it would get the NWA a lot more attention than we'd probably expect. I think that it would be very good for the NWA. And I think that it looks as if really right now, currently, WWE is willing to work with a lot of organizations now, a lot of different organizations. Whereas if you look at it 8 years ago, they weren't even thinking about that.
I just stuffed a Reese's egg in my mouth, so I apologize.
It's quite
a cool connection from that match we were just talking about, though, is the referee to that Nick Aldis versus Cody Rhodes match was the other person me and Jay just talked about while you were off for a quick second. Earl Hebner, he was the referee for that match.
That's a great callback.
Yeah.
I forgot about that. I was there. I saw him live. Yeah. And I'm always going to pop for a compliment. Thanks, Jeremy. And the thing, Rick, I think something that you just touched on that I hadn't even really taken into consideration. When Cody Rhodes won the 10 pounds of gold, the NWA had said from the very get-go, we have this 20-year plan, and we're going to do this, this, and this. And I feel like all that got shit canned out the window when Cody showed up, because not only did the NWA almost instantly get propelled to a next level with Cody as world champion. And I'm not saying this because I need to kiss Cody's ass, and I'm not saying this because the NWA wasn't making the right steps in the right direction, but the minute Cody showed up and challenged for that 10 pounds of gold at the All-In presser, that the whole dynamic of the NWA changed. You started seeing those 10 pounds of gold episodes like blow up. everyone was talking about the National Wrestling Alliance, even more so than they were when Tim Storm was introduced to us as the world's heavyweight champion. It was that I really feel like that was a defining moment for the NWA early in its existence under the Lightning One era, that you had all of these Cody fans, all of these Bullet Club fans, all of these elite fans kind of jump in to the NWA. And I really feel like that's what pushed the NWA to that next level. Could Natty Neidhart being on this event, maybe even winning the title, could that push the NWA to the next level? What do you think, Rick?
I think it'll help them in many, many different aspects. It'll probably help them with in search of a television deal. I tell you that much, because they're going to have a current superstar, WWE superstar, somebody that has a little name value. You know what I'm saying? It could help them out big time, I think.
Jaden joining the show. Jaden, I have to pose a question to you. Natty Neidhart winning the Burke, is that a game changer for the NWA? Is that something that's going to push the NWA to that next level?
No. She's not signed by the NWA. She doesn't work for the NWA. She's a WWE wrestler who is on the tail end of her career, who is very, very, very talented and very liked, but not a... This isn't Charlotte. This isn't Rhea Ripley. This isn't Becky Lynch. This isn't Bayley. And also she might win the title, but if she disappears for a while, it'll do the same thing what Cody Rhodes did. She brought with her will disappear with her. That's the problem with the elite crowd, is if it's not something that's pushing the elite, they don't care about it. And that's going to be fortunately the way. It may grab some eyes, just like the WWF invasion with NWA invasion of the WWF, but it's not going to be a game changer. I don't think it'll lead to a TV, because unfortunately, Natty Neidhart's not staying. Unless they're using the NWA as developmental, like TNA, and it's continual usage of NWA talent, of WWF, WWE talent, then I say no.
I think it's going to be, if it does happen, it's not going to be like a long, drawn-out thing. It's going to be a short thing, like last a couple months. She'll probably make 2, 3, 4 appearances, maybe. I mean, the NWA, when do they tape? Once a month? Something like that?
They're
so far behind, right?
Yeah. And the thing that I see about it, and Double D, correct me if I'm wrong, but like I felt, and Jaden, you could disagree, I felt when Cody came, did everybody come from the elite stay? No. But I do feel like more eyeballs were on the NWA, and a lot of those eyeballs did hang around. And I'm not saying that Natty Neidhart has the stature of Cody Rhodes. And to Jaden's point, she doesn't have the stature of Rhea Ripley or Charlotte Flair either. But I do feel like she has enough star power that people, especially after the Bloodsport, like I saw on social media, a lot of people very excited about this new Natty Neidhart, and they would even say, like, bring her to the WWE. That's who we want in the WWE. And if she's on the mission to reinvent herself outside of the WWE to become more appealing to the front office at World Wrestling Entertainment, then I could see them bringing some eyeballs to the show, at least while she's here. And maybe some of those eyeballs will stay like they did with Cody.
I personally think that, like, for Natalya, this is more probably a her wish sort of thing. She probably asked Triple H, hey, can I go be on the NWA? It's the greatest, like the longest wrestling company of all time. What is it now? Over 104 years they've been existing. So,
actually, the NWA. I want to disagree on that one too. The NWA has been around as a company since what? The Tharp era? Otherwise, it was a sanctioning body. It wasn't a company before that.
No, that's
so. Yes, it's been around as the longest reigning sanctioned body of professional wrestling, but it hasn't been a company. I even say it hasn't been a company on its own since the Lightning One era. So no, it's actually kind of a young company. That's something I've always disagreed with when people say it's a sanctioning body. It's the oldest and most prestigious sanctioning body of all professional wrestling. But
just the idea of her lineage of her family and everything, I feel like that might have drawn her some appeal to it.
Well, yeah, I think so too. I mean, all of us love the NWA. We might not love Billy Corgan's booking or the Lightning One's current treatment of the NWA and the disrespect that they do for the NWA, but we all love the NWA. And it has something special to us. I know it has to have something special to Natty Neidhart. Her father wrestled for the NWA World Heavyweight Championship. I seen it live in Woodbury, New Jersey, I believe, against Dan the Beast Severn.
I was going to say against Severn, right?
He might have gotten shots other times too. I don't know. But I mean, I just remember that match specifically because I was there live to see it. That's also where Sabu took on Devon Storm, and they both landed in my lap.
Lucky you. Hey, also let it be known that it not just her father wrestled for the NWA Worlds Heavyweight title, but so did her grandfather. He wrestled Luthez in Minnesota back in 1950 when the NWA was still very, very fresh. He had challenged Luthez for that 10 pounds of gold. Well, back then it was just the NWA Worlds Heavyweight Championship, that silly, dinky little belt. And, he also had challenged for the World Junior Heavyweight title against Vern Gagne in Canada. So there is ties to the NWA and the Hart family, that's for sure.
Stampede Wrestling was also part of the NWA briefly, and the NWA World Junior Heavyweight Championship was on the line there. Dynamite Kid was actually scheduled to win it, but politics didn't happen, and then they created the World Welterweight Championship instead for the Dynamite Kid. That was who was it? That was wasn't Danny Hodge. I can't think of who it was. I think it was Nelson Royal. Nelson Royal was actually scheduled to lose the NWA World Junior Heavyweight title to the Dynamite Kid, and boy, that would have changed the NWA's the Junior Heavyweight title, especially's history and ability to become something. I would have loved to have seen that, but again, politics, of course, get in the way with that. But yeah, so the family they love the NWA. It's got something special to them. Davey Boy Smith is a former multiple-time NWA World Tag Team Champion. That's her cousin. Davey Boy Smith Jr., I'm sorry. Harry Smith, yeah.
I'm like, I don't remember the British Bulldog wrestling for the World Tag Team titles, but I mean, I could be wrong, but I know he was teaming with Sting in WCW for a minute, but so with that being said, we're looking at the road to Crockett Cup. I mean, obviously May 17th is just a couple of weeks away. Some of the matches, the only match that has formally been announced is we know with no uncertainty whatsoever that the Man Beast Rhino will take another shot at the 10 pounds of gold when he challenges Thom Latimer for the richest prize in pro wrestling, the real World's Heavyweight Championship, the 10 pounds of gold. Thom Latimer versus Rhino. Rick, we talked about this a little bit last week. 50 years of age, former NWA World's Heavyweight Champion. Got a pop in Dothan, Alabama, coming off of his run with TNA Wrestling. Do you feel like Rhino will bring some eyeballs to the NWA if he were to become the next World's Heavyweight Champion?
That's debatable. I mean, I don't know. Like, how much does Rhino have in his gas tank? You know what I'm saying? I don't think he's terrible, completely done, because he does still put on somewhat quality matches. But how many people really want to just go out there and say, hey, I'm going to this show for Rhino? No offense to Rhino, but I'm not going to, unless it's like something local, you know what I mean? I just don't see it happening. I mean, he might, he's already held that belt once. Will he maybe be in a 2-time NWA champion? Could add a little something to his record as a positive note.
Just for the record, I went to a show for Rhino, and he ended up not showing up. Just Tommy Dreamer was there instead. So,
what show was that?
Tommy.
It was United Wrestling Network tied with a local indie here, but I can't remember. Oh, Excite Pro Wrestling.
Okay.
That
was the one that happened like in November, right?
Yeah, last year.
You sent me a few.
Last time a wrestling show's been up here.
That's a shame, man.
Yes.
Rick, finish your
Maybe you
thought.
should bring Dog up there. I heard Dog's looking to expand. Is there any good universities or somewhere that Dog could have a wrestling renaissance in where you live?
You have to look into like SUNY Jefferson or SUNY Canton, SUNY Potsdam. One of the SUNY schools up here, I'm sure.
See, I got to agree with the. I got to agree with the GOC here. He's not attractive. You know what I mean? I guess he's kind of past his prime. I think he's going to be a hell of a match going in against Thom Latimer. Thom Latimer's a hell of a wrestler, great NWA World Champion.
The thing I see about Rhino, and nobody asked, but I'll give you my opinion anyways. I don't think. Look, Rhino is 50 years old. He is legitimately 8 years older than Natty Neidhart. Just let that sink in for a moment. The second part to that is, I don't expect Rhino to legitimately propel the NWA to the next stratosphere, right? But I think, and this is just me talking. I don't know nothing, but I do know that Rhino is one of Scott D'Amore's guys, right? I mean, I believe he trained under BCW when he was breaking into the business. I believe he trained with Scott D'Amore back in the day. I feel like that's why that open door to TNA has been available to him over the years, because Scott D'Amore's connection to the TNA Wrestling Impact. I would not be entirely shocked if we saw Rhino show up on some of those Maple Leaf Pro Wrestling events. And if I'm just playing fantasy booker here, what better way to stoke the flames of getting people excited about your product than to have a matchup where maybe Thom Latimer just gets bested on one night. Maybe Thom Latimer is having an off night. Maybe Billy Corgan plays some sort of role in crowning a new world champion. You know, there were not too long ago when Thom Latimer was in a group called Strictly Business, they kept calling Billy Corgan the conspiracy theorist. Conspiracy Corgan, right? Maybe there's some animosity that has been yet to be discovered on live TV. And maybe Corgan is like, nah, you're not my guy. You've never been my guy. Rhino's my guy, and brings Rhino in to win the title. I'm not saying that's going to happen, but I'm just saying that I feel like that would get a lot of eyeballs on the product. And to me, what's almost more valuable than a TV spot at this point is people caring, people talking about it, people engaging in the product. And if it's not Natty Neidhart, potentially maybe Rhino winning the World Heavyweight Championship, even if it's just, and I hate the term, and I know Jaden hates the idea, but even if it's just a hot shot, put the belt on Rhino for a month or two and swap the title back at Maple Leaf Pro. I feel like that would be a very easy way to get people to pay attention. And Guardian says, Scott D'Amore didn't put asses in the seats either. All his hype in TNA, he never got them on TV or any sort of ratings or live event sales. Good guy, loves the boys, but overrated. I mean, there's a lot of people talking positively about Maple Leaf Pro, and I know that that's not TNA wrestling, and that's, you know, all just kind of hearsay. But I mean, Jaden, do you think that could potentially get people interested, or do you think that's just not going to happen?
Right now, this is a perfect example of Mark's listening to message boards and people who don't know what's going on, talking about shit that they don't understand. Scott D'Amore actually helped get them onto Spike TV. Scott D'Amore actually helped give them some of their best ratings before Bischoff and Hogan ruined everything. Scott D'Amore was the one that actually helped them in the best product when everybody loved TNA and actually thought they had a chance to become something. He was the booker in charge of that. So people forget about that when they were on Spike TV. Before there was Hogan and Bischoff and all the stuff that ruined it, and Dixie Winter Dixie did what Dixie does, and that's half the boys. Scott D'Amore is the one that got them where they, you know, to that point. People forget that. Yes, TNA was kind of like the home of misfit toys and the witness protection program for a while, but that's because they're on a station that nobody gets. It's on channel 384 on cable. That who even has cable anymore? But they back in the day when TV was actually still something of a draw and people went to TV to get their entertainment, Scott D'Amore got them to the point of their highest point, in my opinion. Yes, they had some bigger ratings with Hogan and stuff like that, but that didn't last, and it completely killed the company and all its momentum from that point forward. So that's that. Also, Rhino. People also forget they're all in love with Natty, this, Natty, this, Natty, that. The first person that got him any kind of publicity for this event was Rhino.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, it's at the ECW arena where Rhino could mean something. Yes, he's a former ECW world champion. He's a former TNA world champion. He's a former TNA tag team champion, a former WWE SmackDown champion, and of course, a former NWA World Heavyweight Champion. But that's the first thing that got them any kind of publicity. That was the first thing that sparked people's interest. People forget all about that now because the new toys coming around. They're acting like Tony Khan when a new wrestler gets released.
But answer the question: do you think that Rhino could bring some eyeballs to the product?
Well, yes, I'm getting to that point, but I have to make sure to get all my other points out first.
Sure.
I'm in a rare mood today, in case you can tell.
You're fired up, that's for sure.
Hot-shotting, when done right, actually can be a beneficial thing. Even hot-shotting, people hot-shot thinking like hot-shot means you put a belt on and then do it. No, hot-shot is an actual type of booking style where you throw everything out at the hot time and try to get the product hot again. People forget also when right before NWA Jim Crockett Promotions was sold to Turner, Dusty almost had it turned around by doing some hot shotting and getting some good angles going and stuff like that. Again, when done right, hot shotting is useful. Now you're talking about the hot potatoing of a title by having it go short term. Back and forth, Tommy Rich getting the NWA World Heavyweight title and then Harley Race winning it back set Georgia on fire. Tommy Rich wasn't able to capitalize it, but Georgia Championship Wrestling sure as hell was. And that set that promotion on fire. So that is something, when, again, done right, can be done. Is Rhino the guy to do so? I don't think so, honestly. He's right now, what it should be is if Latimer is your guy, they should be doing that. What he's doing right now, they should have been doing all along. He's got matches coming up against big talent in big places and trying to get a lot of publicity. Right now, I think the NWA is trying to capitalize on the WWE's current success and trying to ride that wave. And they're using Rhino and they're using Neidhart and they're using Gail Kim and whatever else they happen to be calling in. Is there another legend that they announced and other things? I think right now they're trying to stoke what they can to grab as much of that lightning in the bottle that's bouncing off of the WWE right now and trying to get something out of it. And that's right now what I believe they're trying to do. And what's whether it's going to be successful or not, I don't trust Billy Corgan's booking to capitalize on it properly. But it's at least a very smart decision to do so. And I actually credit probably Brian Idol for that. It's probably his idea. I don't like keep saying probably so much, but it's going to be like DK doing
Now I got to ask Double D because Jaden kind of hit all of his points. Double D, what do you think? Is Rhino a guy that you think can stoke some of the flames? Do you think people will care? You said that you went to a show expecting to see him. I don't know if that was your primary draw, but would you go to a show if you knew he was going to be there?
So I think, of course, that 2300 arena in Philadelphia is going to be absolutely packed. Like everyone's going to go to see Rhino try to do this one last time. So I think that no matter what, it's going to be sold out. Unfortunately, I don't think it's going to be a pay-per-view. I think that it's going to be on X, broken up into 6 different shows. And then, so no, I don't think that's going to help draw too much. They're going to have to post Rhino's specific match on YouTube eventually for people to go find. And it's just not going to hit like it could have. Like a few years ago when they brought in Matt Cardona, I feel like that pay-per-view brought a lot of the internet fans especially in to buy it. Like I was one of those people that I bought the pay-per-view. Like I sat at home on my TV and watched it. But It's just, I don't know. I feel like this new NWA booking style is just, no matter what's going to happen, I feel like it's not going to draw until they bring back the pay-per-views or some form of watching a full show.
Yeah, and we've talked about this ad nauseum, and anyone who's just joining us for the first time or hasn't heard us say it in a while. I mean, probably the biggest roadblock that the NWA is facing these days isn't even Billy Corgan's booking. It's the lack of being able to capitalize on these moments. Hard Times 5 recorded back in March. That's where Rhino showed up for the very first time to challenge Tom Latimer. But as a viewing audience, we haven't seen that yet on Power, and we probably won't see it on Power until probably June? Like the taping schedule as it is. I mean, they're showing matches that they filmed in Tampa back in January, and it's kind of hard to get excited about what's happening with the NWA when the content is so slow to being distributed. There was a point in time where it made sense that CW required them to have the content available for them to go through standards and practices, so far in advance. But now that you're not on CW, now that you're not, you really don't have any restrictions, as far as I know, and nobody has been able to tell me otherwise. I don't feel like they have a deal with X. I just feel like they're posting on X. You know what I mean? Like the WWE has a deal with X to post content. It's that the speed division, right? But there is no, as far as I can tell, and again, until someone tells me otherwise, there's no deal with X and the NWA. That's just where they choose to distribute their content at. And so with that being said, there's nothing stopping them from showing the entire show that they tape that night on YouTube or X. It's just their own willingness to do so. And the fact of the matter is that they've spent a lot of money recording content that's just sitting in waiting to be aired on X for the next 6 months. So it just feels like that's always going to be the biggest hamstring for the NWA as it is right now. Is just that turnaround time from taping to distribution is just ridiculous. Rick, or go ahead, Double
Yeah,
D.
sorry. That just does kind of pique my curiosity, as if there is a contract or something with X, because Billy Corgan does have his own personal interview show on X. So maybe it was something that the only way that he could have this show stream live on X was if NWA was their own personal wrestling company or something. I'm not sure. Obviously, we're not in the booking meetings or anything. But sorry, that's just the last thing I wanted to say.
How many views are they getting on X per episode? And it's up there for a week before the next one airs. It's 7 days, basically.
The last time I looked, it was they were averaging about 70,000. But I'm gonna look right now, and I'll tell you what the last one did that aired on Tuesday, where it's at 2 days later.
Could you watch old
how
stuff?
How many people are watching the whole episode? Which old stuff are you referring to?
If they have stuff that they've had on X from 2 months ago, could you watch that now, or is it gone once it's
it's still available.
I think they just pin it, and then you got to go in and dig it under the media section, dig for it. There's no way to there's no folder or playlist or whatever. I don't think Twitter has that option, do they? X, whatever you want to call it.
No, as of right now, there's just under 30,000 on the last episode, and to watch the program, it's still available. Last week's episode and the weeks before, months before, but it's not easily accessible. You have to scroll through their media or just scroll through their feed to find it.
And who wants to do all that? To go find, and then it's only the stuff since last year, since 76, really, right? Isn't that around the time where that they started putting that up there? So, and the other thing about that is nothing before is available. You can't find any of it to go watch and stream those first few seasons, any of that stuff. So I like to go back and watch stuff sometimes, especially those first couple seasons that were really awesome.
Don't get me started on that, Triller.
For a brief time, by the way, they did have it on YouTube. Somebody had them posted, but they got taken down. Yeah. I saw it on Reddit, and I watched the first 2 episodes. I went to go back and watch it again, and then they were all gone by then.
Okay.
It wasn't the NWA that did it, of course.
Interesting.
For a while,
a week ago, they streamed the entire first season. I don't know if you guys seen that.
They just and it was just streaming for I think 24 hours or something. It was on, and anytime you went to the YouTube channel, it was just a live stream of the first season of Power, which I think I don't hate that idea, to be quite honest with you. I just feel like, to everyone's point, look, I'm a content creator. The Dangerous Adrenaline Wrestling Gladiators, although it's a wrestling promotion, they are content creators. Rick Del Santo is a content creator. Double D, I think you used to have a podcast or be a part of a podcast that was a content creation. All 4 of us have had a hand at creating content on the internet. Hell, everyone that's watching this, if you have a Facebook, if you have any kind of social media, you're creating content, right? And there is with X, the minimum requirement to be a paid content creator on that channel is you pay to be verified, and then the content that you post earns based on engagement. So it doesn't even matter that the NWA only has 30,000 views right now, as long as the content is being engaged with the audience. Now, I don't know how to measure that. I don't think there's an analytic that's made available to you and I so we could check that, right? You know, I know how YouTube works because that's the platform that pays me to create content. But I feel like it's if tomorrow I decide to put all my content exclusively on X, like Billy Corgan has done, there's no contract involved. There's no like, I can't take it anywhere else. It's just if I put it up there and people engage with it, I make money. And if not, then I'm free to take my content anywhere else. And I feel like that's what the NWA has with X right now. I don't think there's any agreement, any kind of contract, any paper and ink that's keeping the NWA exclusive to X. I think that's a decision that they decided to make.
They made it because they were Jaden, but because they were upset with the financial situation of YouTube, or and then had a bum deal with the I guess Fight or Triller, whatever it was called at the time. You know what I mean? That didn't end up working out, and then a bum deal with CW. So then they go complete opposite direction and go to X. And I'm gonna be honest, it's not a lot of people have X or use the X app. You know what I mean? So that's really the only place. More people have access to like Facebook and Instagram. They could do that. You know what I'm saying? TikTok. So it's just
Twitch,
exactly. They're limiting their audience. I mean, not a lot of more and more people, especially and I don't want to get into politics or anything, but because of what's going on, are jumping from X because of what's going on in this country and the whole, the presidency and stuff. So they're leaving X and so that's less of an option to reach an audience. I hope that came out okay. No, came out the right way.
Yes.
So.
You were very apolitical there. You didn't go too far on any side of it. You're good. And you're right. I mean, look, on our own Discord, there's several guys that are like, well, I don't mess around with X, so I guess I'm not watching it anymore. Exactly. And it's like there is I forgot what the channel is called, but there is like a very ultra conservative version of YouTube.
Rumble.
I don't remember what is it called?
Rumble. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that's it.
And there's plenty of wrestling on there as well.
So. And my thought is like, well, Billy, is that something that you're curious about, checking out what kind of audience is there for you on Rumble? Blue Sky leans very liberal. You want to start posting your content on Blue Sky? I feel like YouTube was safe because as far as I can tell, I don't think YouTube is slanted one way or the other. I don't think people take their politics from YouTube. I feel like that's still, I could be mistaken on that. I haven't, I'm not on that side of YouTube. I get wrestling content and Star Wars and Transformers stuff. I don't really get much outside of that. So I don't know. I agree with Rick. If I'm creating a wrestling program and my job is to get as many eyeballs to the content as I possibly can and to make as much money as I can doing it, I think all bets are off. And I'm going to just put my content everywhere. Let it be seen by everyone.
That's exactly it. Get on Facebook, get on Twitch, because you could monetize on all these platforms, all of them. You could just collect. And I think that it would reach a certain audience and you'd get a lot, you'd just get a wider audience and you'd have more of a chance to making money. I can't tell you how much money they're actually making. I don't know how much money they're actually making, if anything. And that was part of the thing that Billy was complaining about, that, why he left TNA was because he had to let them, he was, I guess, involved in letting them borrow money and stuff like that. And that's why the ship was sinking, correct?
Yeah. The rumor is that Dixie owed a lot of money and wasn't going to be able to pay most of it back. And I believe Billy had said, hey, I'm just going to take control of the company. I own it now. And then there was the lawsuit and everything else. So
how much money is he going to continue to sink into a company that's not necessarily getting anything that he's putting back into it?
Ask Tony Khan that.
Tony Khan's a different animal, though.
Tony's got he's got a lot more money. Yeah, he's got a lot more money than Billy Corgan probably ever seen in his entire life. So
no, his father does. That's the difference.
Oh, all right. His father does. But you know,
That's fair.
all you got to do is call his dad, ask him for a couple million for no reason. So,
Pops, I need $1 billion. I Stone Cold is available. I'm gonna sign him. Double D, what you were about to say something? What were your thoughts?
No, just I've never even heard of that app named Rumble, but that'd be the perfect one for a wrestling company to post on.
I mean,
there's not a whole lot of wrestling content on there. There's some, but it's probably a good market to try out and to land and push it on, because YouTube has an overabundance of wrestling content. If you look at it, there's a ton. I know UFC is on Rumble. You know, they create content for there. I know Dana White put his Power Slap on there after that got taken off of cable. There's a lot of other things on there. It's a lot of political talk and stuff like that. So it's very possible that NWA could kind of corner that market on that app.
Does anyone remember the name Adam Rotella?
Very much so. Yes, I think we spoke about him not so long ago.
Yeah. So Adam Rotella kind of jumped in right when the NWA under Billy Corgan started, and very similar to me, very similar to our pal Gary Horn. He was right there talking NWA on YouTube, and then he kind of started leaning more into conspiracy theories. Now I knew he was a conspiracy theorist, but he is doing quite well for himself on Rumble. I was surprised to see how many people were following him and his hot takes on the world of conspiracy and everything else.
Is it Rumple with like Rumple Mints, or is it Rumble like the tape on the from Soundwave's Transformers?
Rumble, like there's going to be a Rumble.
That sounds like a perfect name for a wrestling company, and I didn't even know it existed. I don't know if our social media person does. I can tell you our social media person just does say that Dog does get a lot of traction on X, but it does its most on YouTube and Instagram.
Does Dog get compensated on social media besides YouTube? Do you know that, or would you know?
What was that? I'm sorry.
Does Dangerous Adrenaline Wrestling Gladiators earn compensation from being on X or being on Instagram or anything like that, or just YouTube?
Just YouTube. And it's not because I don't know why. Honestly, again, I'm not a social media guy. I leave that to the people doing all the work, and I just sit here and look pretty. But I do know, like I said, there are times when the Dog on YouTube gets a ton of traction. Usually when DK watches Valerie Vermin and Notorious Mimi and stuff like that, and leaves perverted comments. But it gets a lot of traction on YouTube at certain times, and sometimes it doesn't get any at all. And it doesn't make a lot of sense, other than the ladies tend to get the most attention on the Dog YouTube. And Dave Dahl has a very positive Daddy Bear following on YouTube too. I just want to make sure that's well known.
You get his channels on Grindr.
Speaking of that, why who gets the most viewership is Pornhub. Why isn't NWA on that?
Okay, so I have a friend who is an independent filmmaker. Recently, I had a cameo in one of his movies, but I'm under a mask, so you would never even see me. But he was saying, like, I'm going to release my movie on that app because the revenues are so high. And he said, I'll just put a risky name on it, right? And then people will watch it expecting this and not getting it. And then once they see the movie, like, they'll fall in love with it. And I'm like, good luck on that one, buddy. Good luck on that one. I don't think how do I say this without offending? I want to keep my content on a place where I'd be comfortable with my kids watching it. So I'm going to keep doing that for now. Was that movie, by the way, Jay? Was that a German snuff film? No, it was not.
Yeah, did we just brush past that Jay was in a porno?
Was it a gimp mask you were wearing?
Actually,
are you gagged? Are you secretly gagged?
My lips are sealed.
Actually, he has a zipper on his mask too.
Yeah. That was the joke, Jaden. The joke is that he's got a zipper on his mouth. That's why I did the goddamn zipper.
I don't think the other two got it. That's why I had to say it.
Oh, I got it.
Rick was just taking the high road.
Yeah, see, we don't take the high road here in the Alliance Guys podcast.
Well, we do until you're around, and then we all go to your level.
There's a reason I'm the entertainment one.
It's got a point.
But
so,
real quick though, I agree with you, Jay. They 1,000,000,000% should be everywhere right now. I think the only reason they're not is because they might not have enough views to make content on one show if they split it up with all the things out there that actually make any kind of money, because they might not have enough views to make any money. But I think if you're trying to push the overall product, they should be on everything and every place they can. Rumble, Twitch, Instagram, Facebook, X, Y, Z, Q.
Well,
public access.
Public. That's another topic that I definitely want to get into. But real quick, I just pulled up Rumble and I typed in wrestling, and there isn't really a lot of wrestling promotions that are on. And look, I'm not advocating that the NWA do anything, but this might be a brand new bastion for them. And look, I'll be honest, I was in St. Louis when Tyrus lost the NWA Worlds Heavyweight Championship, and there were a lot of people wearing red hats at that event. And I would imagine that, again, if the goal is to get money, right? If the goal is to make money and be seen, why not? Why not? X is leaning that way anyways. Why not just put a channel on that on Rumble and see what money could be made there?
Correct.
Heck, just take your own content, put it up there now, just to get as a gauge. Worst case scenario, you don't update it anymore.
And I believe that with Rumble, it's easier to monetize, whereas on YouTube, you automatically have to have like 1,000 viewers to 1,000 subscribers to monetize. I think it's like way less than that. I think you can sign up for your account, start uploading content, and monetize somewhat, quickly. And the other thing is like sponsors and like advertisements during their shows. They have absolutely no sponsorships or advertisements during their television shows. So that would bring in some revenue for the company as well.
Hey, shout out real quick to Luthez's favorite podcaster, the Certified Hustler, has a channel on Rumble, and he does. He has a lot. I'm like looking at it now, and he's got a lot of NWA content on there. And I don't know if that's stuff that he's ripped that he's put on there, or if that's stuff that he's shot while he's been on location. But Mr. Luthez says that they have NWA on Rumble, but I don't see it on there. I typed in National Wrestling Alliance. I typed in, maybe if I do rumble.com/NWA, I don't know, but I haven't seen an actual NWA channel, but maybe I'm wrong.
Maybe Villamenos Lucha Libre should be on Rumble completely as a heat getting mechanism.
I think you're onto something, and I think I might. Okay, so consciously speaking here, part of the reason why I don't post in some places because I don't feel comfortable about posting in some places. But hey, what? El Grande Briticanico? I love it. I don't know who you are, but welcome to the show, pal. El Grande someone help me out here.
Briticano?
Okay. J-Cal. So I found the NWA on Rumble. It's on NWA official. It's showing that the 200 what is it? The 4725 was the is up here. I can see that here.
I'm still not seeing them, but I take your word for it.
I googled NWA or rumble.com, and then I just typed in NWA, and then it came up, and it looks like the last post was 13 days ago. Max the Impaler versus Tyler Franks. Yep.
Okay, so I did the same thing, and I got a playlist from Professional Wrestling with matches from like 1983 of NWA. This actually might be a really cool resource. 1978, September 12th, Dusty Rhodes and Sweet Leroy Brown versus Carl Von Krupp and Gary Hart.
Wow.
Is Max the target wrestler, though, to be on Rumble?
I don't think
It's going to be a big draw. There's a lot of secretive people in the
Actually, Pornhub says that whenever the Republican conventions are in town, that town has the highest viewership of Republican viewership. Yeah, and apparently, when they were in with Louisiana or something like that recently, the I guess the gay prostitutes were charging premium rates. I saw that on there too.
Well, first of all, thanks for that information.
Yeah, it's not.
Secondly,
I thought it was interesting.
No, it is
So
a
what
little
does
bit.
that tell us about your algorithms, Jaden?
Well, no, it's I saw it on there because they were posting about it on because Pornhub posted lots of stuff everywhere, and not just on Pornhub. They post a lot of information. They actually wanted to block certain red states at one time from being able to access of it, and then just like the NWA, you're going to have to get a
VPN,
or something like that.
All right, so I
brought that around. You like I did that?
Yeah, good job, Rick. I did find it, and like their viewership is super low. They've got 76 followers, and like their views are like the one that was 13 days ago, Max the Impaler versus Tyler Franks, only 29 views.
It's not something that they pushed. Obviously, we didn't know about it. And we follow the NWA kind of religiously, so less people knew about it. You know what I mean? So if they never pushed it or advertised it on their television, so
wow, like even something like the match between Nick Aldis and Trevor Murdoch from NWA 73. That was the first video that they posted, and they only have 102 views for that.
I would have figured Trevor Murdoch would be their bread and butter on that network.
Watch yourself.
Well, just the particular style of wrestler he is, he fits a lot of that stereotype of the good old boy.
Sure.
Not saying anything against, with about. See, honestly, the name Rumble just sounds like it belongs to professional wrestling.
It's a great
Ladies and
name.
gentlemen,
It's a great name
on Rumble.
And I'm not advocating that pro wrestling companies, Shanghai the website and just start posting wrestling content on there and turning it into a wrestling platform. But I'm not telling you to do that as well.
I think it fits well together, to be honest with you. If you traditionally professional wrestling, that kind of a landscape,
I bet you Daredevil Dave Dahl will be hot on Rumble. Based on the demographics I told you before with Pornhub.
I think he'd be great on Grindr. Double D, you're getting quiet. Are we making you uncomfortable, sir?
No, honestly. Real talk, the baby was screaming, so I had to hop up quick and help my wife out.
All good.
The baby doesn't like Rumble, apparently.
I want to touch on something a few minutes ago Rick was talking about. That's one of my biggest pet peeves in the NWA today. We'll be in the middle of a really good match. Like this week, I think it was the Carson Bartholomew Drake match. And then Joe Galley be like, we need to cut to a commercial here. We need to cut to an ad. They have no ads. There's no sponsors on this entire show.
In a 6-minute match. A 6-minute match, they had to go to commercial.
First of all,
you don't need to go to commercial here. I'm telling you.
I'm having a hard time.
And we'll talk about. Go ahead. Sorry,
I just have a hard time believing Carson Bartholomew Drake had a good match. But go ahead.
Hey,
we'll talk. We're going to get into those. We're going to get into those commercials when we discuss Power. Okay, that they created for themselves and the little skits as well. So,
Carson Drake versus Dave Dahl. That'll make everybody leave this country.
Make them leave the podcast, that's for sure. So what I'm being told now, what I'm understanding is you all think we should move the Alliance blog podcast to Rumble. Is that what we're saying here?
No, simulstream.
You could do that through stream. You could, I don't know what the plan is, but you could simulcast on multiple platforms through StreamYard. So
and he does, that's his thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I know it's on YouTube and Facebook. I don't know if it's elsewhere, but
right now I go Kick, Twitch, and YouTube. Mostly because Facebook is never going to monetize my stuff. We're not big enough to be monetized on Facebook, so I figure like, what's the point? I'm dividing my audience.
You have to create reels to which is where the action is as far as getting monetized on Facebook. So on your,
I do that too, and that's not a platform that I'm going to excel at.
Right.
Like I do better on TikTok, and I'm still not there yet on TikTok either. But I'm like, I don't know. You guys see the content we post. The YouTube seems to be treating this channel the best, so that's where I put the majority of my energy.
It makes the most sense.
I just got paid for them, so I'm go YouTube. I'm waiting for my plaque.
Are you 100,000 yet?
What's that?
Are you 100,000 yet?
No.
Close.
We're only 94,000 away from hitting that number. We're getting there every day, a little bit closer.
Now, question: do you take the videos from this live stream and post it on Facebook after?
No, and we're just going to talk about Jay's business real quick. One of the things I've been thinking about doing is kind of clipping, just segments of this show. And it's like I don't have time for it, but I got to figure out ways to do it, and just putting clips of the show. Not like a minute clip, not like a 2-minute clip, but like a 15-minute clip of us talking about something, and then putting that on YouTube. I think, or not YouTube, on Facebook or TikTok or X, any of those places.
TikTok, yeah.
I figured
you put them on TikTok, 30, 40-second clips of something, a minute, and people, that's where the kids are. They want to see 30, 40-second clips because they can't pay attention to a whole 2 minutes, let alone an hour or two.
I take off the hat and kind of give myself a little faux hawk here, and then they call me Kevin Owens on there. So
be careful; they might try to deport you to Canada.
At this point,
are we live on TikTok right now?
No, we're not on TikTok right now. Do you want?
He will be though. He does post things on TikTok.
No, the pre-party I'll do both on simulcast on YouTube and on TikTok as well.
Why not this one?
Because there's 4 of us. So when you simulcast to TikTok, you only have room for your face, like one person. And I haven't figured out how to make the 4 square or the rectangle fit in that.
Yeah, I know there's a way. It's just I've tried figuring it out myself, and I don't think I'm that smart to figure it out. So
ask your girls; they'll probably figure it out for you.
Wait, say that again, Jaden.
Ask your girls; they could probably figure it out for you.
No.
Am I wrong?
No, they don't know. My kids in technology are not exactly. My kids are smart, all of them. My oldest is on Discord, and she's got her own little community on there, and that's cool. But they don't know how to stream. I'm the one that taught her how to stream. I feel like I'm the old guy teaching the young kids stuff that they should be teaching me.
Anybody out there that's not 74 years old, like our target audience, knows how to use TikTok, please send Jay a message.
Well, I was going to ask Double D, but he took off for a minute.
I had to teach my father how to sign into Netflix because he couldn't figure it out.
What channel's Netflix on?
My buddy's friend, when Raw moved to Netflix, he's literally like, what channel is Netflix? It's like, it's not a channel, it's an app. So he didn't have Netflix, so now he can't watch Raw.
A couple of weeks ago, my mother-in-law said, well, I'll just call for an Uber. And I'm like, you don't get to call for an Uber. You have to have the app. Well, I'll download the app. But I'll get you an Uber. Don't worry about it. I'll come pick you up myself. You're good.
Is that when he left her in Burbank?
I'd never. How dare you, sir? I was in the United Kingdom. I was literally at dinner with Fiona and my wife and the kids, and I was doing Uber Eats for my mother-in-law. I was getting groceries sent to the home. It was like midnight over there. It was like 4 o'clock over here. It was pretty awesome. I felt really worldly at that point. In the chat, they're talking a lot about Rumble, and Sean Mega asked, "Is Rumble on Roku?" And Wrestling Lulz said no.
That's maybe that's maybe something the NWA could invest in, is to maybe do a Roku app or a Fire Stick app. You know what I'm saying?
100%.
Whatever it's
Like,
called. Or even be on the Roku channel. You catch my drift? Because they could, the Roku channel I know they were presenting newer episodes of New Japan for a while. There's also, Tubi. Tubi's got WWE on there now. They've got the Evolve series on there. So, there's a lot of really cool options as far as those kinds of apps, those free apps, maybe even Pluto. Something, you know what I'm saying?
And
that's an option.
I think what you're saying too makes a whole lot of sense. Like, now, I'm not going to pretend like I know everything, right? But I'm pretty close to Dave Marquez, and I asked him. I said, "What's stopping you, Dave, from putting the United Wrestling Network, Championship Wrestling from Hollywood? You have over a decade, maybe even more, content in your Dave Marquez vault. What's stopping you from doing a 24/7 United Wrestling Network channel on Pluto?" And his answer was simple: there's no money in it. And I feel like
I'd watch that every day if that was the case. Because, I was watching from the NWA from Hollywood. When that premiered and they were putting them up online, I was downloading them and watching them every week. I was enjoying them.
I feel like there is an audience there, but at the same time, like, it's got to make money. And the one thing that we were talking about, the NWA finding a home. You said public access, but I'm thinking, like, if I'm Billy Corgan right now, today, my biggest market seemingly is Dothan, Alabama. They always seem to do well when they go to Alabama. If I believe in my product so much, and I believe like we could be on TV, and I think I have TV ready programming, I would be putting power on in Dothan, Alabama, and maybe in Tampa, because they seem to do that's where a lot of their TV tapings are scheduled from, and start putting the NWA program, even if you have to pay for it, on these local markets to help cultivate your audience, to help grow the crowd.
I know it's kind of a market that's done with in a way, but a lot of smaller markets do have localized television, like you said, syndicated television. I know there's a lot of wrestling companies that go through the internet scouring for local public access television stations, and they have stuff on throughout the country. One of the companies that I work with has their television show on several different public access channels throughout the entire New England area. It's going to take work for them to go do the research, make the contacts, film, digitally send it and stuff like that. But it's an option to get stuff out there. Be like, hey, we're going to watch that weird channel out of our local town, whatever, that never has anything on. It's usually people preaching and stuff like that. But today there's wrestling.
Good message to the Savoldis. They were the experts at that. You get your Bowflex ads and your
baseball in the bag.
Maybe, I don't know.
Well, and it wasn't just the Savoldis. I mean, look, Dave Marquez to this day still syndicates his program on lots of different networks, and
we get it up here on the New England Sports Network. I get it right after Red Sox games. Sometimes up here.
Bill Barron knows how to do it.
Yeah, that's where I was going to go. Bill Barron's,
yep.
He was still working with the NWA up until a few years ago. I don't know if he still is or not. But I mean, that's somebody who else. I mean, I would be picking his brain. Hey, Bill, how could we get this on local TV? Because at the end of the day, like X, I think Luthez posted that X has 500 million users, and that sounds like a ton of people. But how many of those 500 million people are watching this program? Yeah. And Russell Lulz, and I don't know what your background is when it comes to television. I don't have a background in television, but I have a friend who literally is running a wrestling promotion with shows all throughout the United States. And the bigger that the cable companies have become, and now you've got these different streaming services, there's a lot of people who've cut the cord that aren't watching cable anymore. There's a lot of people who aren't subscribing to Netflix, Disney Plus, Hulu, Max, Paramount Plus, I just listed 5 streaming services that are out there, but you could still plug your TV in with that UHF or HD antenna and watch basic TV for free. And there are a lot of people in this country that are still doing that. And I'm not saying that that is the most progressive way to go, but I'm saying that in a local market, you could be grabbing more eyeballs when you do these live events. Oh, I saw this show. I watch it every Saturday at 6:00, and now they're coming to town. Hey, let's all go to the show.
Hit those small markets and make sure with the television. And then that's where you should bring your shows into those markets where you're on television, and it'll make perfect sense. And I think that'll be the way that they could end up making money.
And Luther says, what money is there having it sit in a hard drive unwatched forever? I agree with that too. That's kind of what he said. But then at the same time, how many matches that he has from Fergal Devitt, Finn Balor, how many matches he has from Carl the Machine Gun Anderson, Samoa Joe, Adam Pearce. If the WWE decides to start doing more documentaries, he could license that footage and make money that way. If it's out there and people can see it, then it's not really special. I don't agree with that, to be honest with you. I think I would, if the shoe was on my foot, I would be releasing as much content as I could.
Why don't we get on this
WWE owns so much footage that WWE has so much footage they've never released. When they bought the Smoky Mountain libraries, they bought some Texas libraries. They still own a lot of world class they've never released. They only released 82 to 87 or whatever. There's so much WCW footage that they have not even touched. A lot of those syndicated programs that they own, they were on the original WWE 24/7. But once they made the WWE network and moved to Peacock, and none of those shows made it over. They didn't want to upload an hour show of squash matches. You know what I mean? Whereas somebody like me, like a fan for so long, I'd love to watch that stuff. You know what I mean? It created memories, and it'd be fun to watch.
Hell, even their Sunday night heats, they've only posted 1998 and 99. And that show ran until 2009.
Yeah.
One of the reasons the WWE posted the WCW channel is because YouTube was posting so much WCW NWA stuff. There was a lot of stuff you could watch back in the day from World Championship Wrestling and the Jim Crockett promotions on YouTube, and I think WWE did that to kind of capitalize on it. Right now, somebody should be trying to capitalize on it. Savoldi's own tons of old footage that they have their own little channel that you can watch.
And you can watch old interviews that I've done on the app as well. So there you go. Cheap plug. All right.
Do you get anything out of that?
Yes, I have. I've collected a few dollars. The interview I did with Mario Savoldi and Brian Webster. There's other one, Jumpin' Jim Rizzell, Brian Blair. A lot of my older interviews that I've done in the years back have all made their way up there. I was working with Daniel and Mario on that project. I still have a lot more that they haven't released yet. So
there you go.
Yeah.
I'm still waiting for them to come calling for my Scorpio Sky interview.
Why don't you actually message them and put some of the old podcasts on there?
Yeah. See?
If
they look for stuff like that, like classic wrestling interviews and stuff like that, they would love to have that kind of stuff. I spoke with Daniel just the other day, about that stuff, and he's always looking for more content.
One of the things that, and again, we're all pulling the curtain now, though. Now we're talking about the inner workings of the Alliance blog. One of the things that I've been wanting to do that I haven't had time to do is to go back in the catalog of interviews that I have done with all the wrestling clips and matches that I've taped, whether it be in Mexico or, even locally here in Southern California, or the clips and stuff that I've taken across the world, and literally just do an Alliance blog 24/7, where it would be from Monday till Tuesday at 2 p.m. on the West Coast, it would be just pre-recorded content, and then I do a live pre-party, and then as soon as that's over, back to pre-recorded content, and then on Thursday nights, again, boom, now you've got more live content, and then back to pre-recorded content, and then just having that go every day. Obviously that's a pipe dream, and of course that stuff would get dated very, very fast, but
it's not just wrestling related, but there's other channels just like that. I was sat there watching G.I. Joe for 2 days in a row. Like it was just a live stream of all the all the old 80s episodes.
Let me know when you find the Voltron channel. That's what I'm looking for.
There's supposed to be a live action movie coming out. I'm not sure if you heard about that.
I'm pretty
psyched about it.
There was a Voltron channel, but it didn't last. But they are starting to post old He-Man and what else is on there? I think Transformers is on there now.
Yeah,
there is some content in there that I've gone down that rabbit hole and watched. G.I. Joe is one of them. She-Ra. I never actually watched She-Ra back in the day, but now I'm trying to catch up on my He-Man lore.
We're losing Double D right here. He's like, what is this stuff that you're speaking
No,
of?
I know She-Ra.
You know She-Ra? What you know about She-Ra?
Like, not much, but Anadora.
Oh, no. Well, that's the little owl guy, right? The little... Never mind.
By the honor of Grayskull. She-Ra, She-Ra. Do.
As always, the show's taking a turn for the better or for the worse. I don't know.
Can we start talking about Star Wars now? The Andor's out. It was really good.
I don't watch Star Wars. My kids do, but I'm sure my son's coming to visit in May. I'm sure he's going to be watching it. So
I did finally catch the last episode of Daredevil. Have you caught up on that one?
No, I need to catch up with that, and we've got all these channels are in the works. DK and Jaden are going to do a Star Wars show, and
we often try to avoid talking about power, so we do everything we can to not talk about it. At least I do. I know DK does. DK does too, but I don't even watch it. See, I made a huge mistake too. I don't even watch it because you know why? I actually tried for a few minutes watching on X, and it sucks on that app.
Yeah. That's the other problem. Like, remember, X was never meant to be a media platform. It was a short content platform. It was 147 characters, or I think they upped it to like 220 something. It was never supposed to be a long form content. So putting up a 45-minute wrestling show just seems absurd. And you're not the only person that has problems with that. I know DK often has problems with it. We hear people in the chat having problems with it. Rick, have you ever had a problem watching the NWA on X?
I just cast it to my television from my phone, so I'm perfect with that. I have a casting app on my phone. Just bam, share the link, and it goes right up through my Roku. I can imagine, because I cannot really stand watching much on my phone unless I'm like in my office or something like that at work. You know what I mean? Trying to keep myself entertained for 8 hours. But outside of that, it's just I don't use the app like that there to watch videos. I don't use really any app outside of that. Maybe to listen to music, but to watch anything, no.
I put everything on my TV. Like, I have a 36-inch television, flat screen, LCD television in my office, and it's connected to my desktop, so I watch everything in here. If it's wrestling related, I'm typically in my studio watching it in here, because it's the same way. I don't want to watch it on my phone, and my family doesn't really care for wrestling. I'm really the only one. Even my kids, my oldest will tolerate it. I notice when we go to wrestling shows, this is her the whole time.
Yeah, it's my son. Yeah, when I bring my son to shows, yeah.
But
that's half the so-called audience and fans.
That's true too.
Dog, just did 2 events recently, and there was a lot of engagement with the people because they weren't traditional wrestling fans. I will always say wrestling fans would make the worst wrestling fans. And they did one at Rowan University. That crowd was engaged in every single thing about it. They did one at the South Jersey Geek Fest where there was probably maybe 3 wrestling fans out. Everybody else is people who've never even seen wrestling before. And they absolutely loved it, except for Dave Dahl because he sucks.
Well, there was a certain audience there that liked him, right? Like the furries or whatever.
Yeah, so probably the furries did. At least anybody who likes daddy bears, apparently that's a thing for him.
You're going to mess up the algorithm, and next thing you know, we'll have a different audience here watching every week.
Did you ever watch when the Muppets did a version of The Office? Where they had their own show. It was kind of like the Muppets Meet the Office was on ABC. I actually look it up. once you look it up, it was pretty entertaining. I thought it was great. For some reason, nobody else agreed with me, but it was the actual Muppets, and they were talking behind the scenes, running a television show hosted by Miss Piggy, and it was kind of like the Muppets Meat Office. And one of my favorite things about it is when Fozzie was talking about how he was posting about being a bear online, and it got him a completely different clientele that he wasn't expecting.
All right. Changing the gears a little bit, I want to get back to the wrestling talk. We were talking NWA. We were talking about the World's Heavyweight Champion. Jaden, you said these are the kind of matches that Thom Latimer needs. And
yes.
And Jaden and I do a lot of offline discussion about the NWA. Obviously, this weekend is a big matchup for Thom Latimer. He takes on Heath Slater as part of the Squared Circle Expo. I didn't even know this was happening. And obviously, this isn't being pushed by the NWA, which I think is crazy because, again, Heath Slater, maybe not the biggest name in pro wrestling, but is fairly well known by
He's got kids.
He's a fairly well-known wrestler, and he's great at what he does, but is he a challenger for the NWA title? That's my
he's Rhino's former partner. Is he's here to soften up Thom Latimer?
I mean, there's certainly a way that the NWA could be parlaying this into storyline.
Absolutely.
And is Heath Slater the guy that's going to knock, Thom Latimer off that flagpole? The answer is no, absolutely not. He's not the guy that's going to win the World Heavyweight Championship. But there's an angle that could be done there because you know who else is going to be at the Squared Circle Expo? Take a guess.
Matthew Bartholomew Drake, whatever his name is, Carson Drake.
He'll be there too. So is Enzo. But I'm almost positive that Rhino is going to be there. You could shoot something with that, but hey, maybe this isn't the opportunity to do that. Okay, well, on next weekend you got Thom versus Silas Young, which I can't believe Silas Young isn't a part of this NWA. They're doing a title versus title match, NWA World Heavyweight Championship taking on the IWR World Heavyweight Championship, and the winner gets the victor gets the spoils. Both titles are on the line. You know who runs IWR?
Thom Latimer.
Rhino.
Oh.
There's another opportunity for them to do something leading up to the Crockett Cup where the NWA should capitalize on it. They should send one of their film boys, one of their camera guys to go record this and have an interaction. Hey, that I know for certain that at that IWR show, Rhino will be at that event. There should be something either filmed in the ring or outside the ring, an altercation, and that should be put on Power leading up to the Crockett Cup. And Thom has a very busy schedule leading up to Crockett Cup because then on May the 10th, he's taking on Stu Grayson from Maple Leaf Pro Wrestling. Again, is Stu Grayson the guy that's going to take the title off of Thom Latimer? No, but there's an interesting storyline leading up to May 17th, and I'm not saying that Scott D'Amore is doing this for the NWA or the NWA is doing this for Scott D'Amore, but how hard would it be to bring Rhino up there and have him attack Thom Latimer? It would at least build optics.
It could be a hell of a match too, I think.
Yeah.
So
I think Stu Grayson's a very talented wrestler. I don't think he is a world heavyweight champion. I don't think he's in the caliber of the NWA as a world's heavyweight champion, but I feel like he has something that a lot of the NWA doesn't, and that's some name recognition. Not everyone on the planet Earth knows who Stu Grayson is, but those who watched AEW do.
Yeah. I think that's a problem with the Go ahead, sorry.
No, so I definitely think out of the three matches you just showed, Stu Grayson has the best chance of giving Latimer the best match.
Yeah.
I don't disagree with that.
I don't know. He's got kids. He needs to win that belt to pay for it. And he's apparently on that Jinder Mahal and diet, and that diet that what's his name? His former tag team partner
Drew McIntyre?
Drew McIntyre diet, and the Randy Orton diet, and the AJ Styles diet. He's looking pretty thick. We got some girth and muscle on him now.
That's a thick
He didn't have
boy.
that when he was in WWE.
He's thick.
And he wrestles for TNA Impact. At least he did recently.
Wasn't he teaming with Rhino and TNA Impact?
Yeah, I think they're former Impact Tag Team Champions, along with being former SmackDown Tag Team Champions. Rhino has a lot of people. He's got his boy trying to weaken Thom. He's got his other boy is champion trying to weaken Thom. Then he's at his boy's home promotion, and then there's another wrestler to weaken Thom. Maybe if somebody keeps pounding on, they all work on the same body part and injure. Maybe Rhino can hit that gore with some messed up ribs and come out with a champion. See, this is where they need a 10 pounds of gold series.
Yeah,
I know. I'm all of a sudden now. I know the chat just went all and say, "No, we bring back 10 pounds of gold," but it really should be back.
Yeah,
them creating content such as the 10 pounds of gold, I think would be that would work so well for them in this current situation that they're in.
And the 10 pounds of gold would lend itself to be on X and on TikTok, where I get a whole show. To me, the 45-minute episode of Power should be on YouTube, but everything else is fair game. And if it's a match, putting it on X, putting it on TikTok, I think that's smart, because I'm only asking for 5 to 10 minutes of your attention, and that's hard to get someone to sit through a 45-minute wrestling show, but it's very easy to get somebody to sit through a 5-minute wrestling match or like a 15-minute 10 pounds of gold segment, and I feel like this is where the NWA, maybe they're just not in touch with modern times.
Modern times, baby. Modern times, daddy. Sorry.
He's experimenting with things, and it's just, I think it's drawing people away. So
I think he experimented with too much stuff, and actually, no, he's straight edge. Never mind.
Billy
Maybe he should be experimenting with stuff.
Billy's not only is he straight edge, but I think he's also vegan.
Oh boy.
Oh god. Yeah. If he isn't, he'll show. If he is, he'll tell you about it.
He's the smartest guy in the room. Just ask him. Double D, you're being quiet, man. What? I know that you had some notes that you wanted to talk about. Let's talk about some of those things that you were writing down. I know you paid a lot of attention to Power, and I don't want that to go to waste.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Before we get into Power, I got one topic where recently released, or his contract is up with TNA Impact, is Alan Angels. I think he's another person up there with Stu Grayson that could definitely bring some hype, bring some some more star power to the NWA. I think that they should do what they can to try to bring him in, try to revamp this junior heavyweight division a little bit.
If I'm not mistaken, Alan Angels was the Prestige World Champion for a little bit, and I got to see him up close in action when I was in San Francisco last year. I saw him wrestle Starboy Charlie. I also saw him teaming with Kevin Blackwood against Starboy Charlie and I forgot the other guy's name. And he's a really good wrestler. I think he knows how to work the crowd well. He might be a little too flippy for Billy Corgan. Like, Billy seems to like more grounded wrestlers, like
Cartwheel.
Outside of Cartwheel. Like, Cartwheel's the exception to the rule. Like, you look at the junior heavyweights that he's trying to develop right now. We're looking at like Spencer Slade, which I still baffles me that they want to use him as a junior heavyweight when he's like built like a brick house. They tried to make Joe Ocasio a junior heavyweight, which I also disagree with. And then they have Alex Missouri and Lev and Gags.
Sorry, I was gagging.
I do agree with you, Double D, that I feel like Alan Angels would be a welcome addition because, one, you have a guy who's super talented. Two, it's a different look for the junior heavyweight division. But I'm also, what I know about Billy Corgan, I feel like that's a pass for him, which I think is stupid. But I just don't see him wanting somebody that's kind of relies on more of the high-flying style of wrestling, which I don't understand that. To me, I've said this lots of times. My favorite era of pro wrestling was like 1996, 1997, WCW Cruiserweight division. That was my wheelhouse. I love that stuff. It's part of the reason why I still go to Lucha Libre shows now. It's because I enjoy that high-flying, high-risk style of wrestling. And I know that I might be in the minority, but I don't feel like that would hurt the NWA at all. What I see from Billy, though, I mean, he's had opportunities to pick up guys like that, and he has passed on it.
Well, personally, what I think about it, what made me be thinking about it was a year ago. If you look at the junior heavyweight division, it was Homicide, Colby Carino, Kerry Morton, Joe Alonzo. Now Alonzo left. Colby and Carino have moved up. Homicide, I'm pretty sure, is retired. Those were kind of the big four names. We haven't had one really replace them. Maybe Alex Taylor to bump into Kerry Morton's role, but still, personally, I feel like we lost four big guys and haven't replaced any of them.
There was two guys that were mentioned that just recently, and I think that it was mentioned on this episode as well. They mentioned that Kerry had bulked up and moved out of the junior heavyweight division, and into the heavyweight division, which I just am not seeing that properly. He still looks like a small guy. He doesn't look like a heavyweight wrestler. Same with Colby Carino. Those guys are too small to be considered anything but junior heavyweights. I'm sorry.
I agree with that. Just that's how the NWA is booking them.
Yeah, I feel like it's like when Rey Mysterio was the world heavyweight champion in WWE. Like, he was not a world heavyweight champion. Let me rephrase that. He held the title, but clearly he wasn't cutting weight to make that heavyweight distinction. And then you had guys in the junior heavyweight division, the cruiserweight. I think the cruiserweight champion might have been like Paul London at the time, who was much bigger than Ray.
Yeah,
than Ray.
Billy,
but
yeah,
I feel like that's always going to be a sticking point for the NWA. Is like, well, Kerry got promoted out of the junior heavyweight division. First of all, that's such a weird way to say it, promoted out of. Like, dude, there's nothing wrong with being a junior heavyweight. And UFC, the junior heavyweight was the most respected class of the fighters.
One of the most prestigious belts in the National Wrestling Alliance, if you think about it. The history with Nelson Royal, Denny Brown, all those guys. You know what I mean?
Danny Hodge.
Yeah, Danny Hodge, obviously.
Jushin Thunder Liger, Ultimo
Absolutely.
Dragon, Kevin Frazier. He's not watching, but I want to shout out my boy anyways.
Angelo Savoldi. We're going to go back to the Savoldi names.
There you go. See.
I'll
talk about the Savoldis. I'll talk about the Savoldis for hours, just so you know, Jaden. So I'm a huge fan.
There was a time where the only two board control titles were the NWA World Heavyweight title and the NWA Worlds Junior Heavyweight Championship.
Correct.
So that was a big deal, in professional wrestling. People forget about that. It wasn't until they put it on Denny Brown and started jobbing him out to every single week that they really started losing a lot of his prestige. And Mike Davis and everybody else was part of that.
Don't forget, don't leave out my guy,
Lasertron.
Lasertron, there it is.
Hector Guerrero. Yep.
Did you guys know? You probably didn't, but during the pandemic, me, DKM, and Kevin Frazier ran down the World Junior Heavyweight title and its legacy before the NWA brought it back. And I think it's on YouTube somewhere. And it ended with us talking to Barrett Brown about, hey, man, they're bringing back the title. Why aren't they bringing you back? And obviously that never came out. But if you ever guys want to hear our hot takes on the junior heavyweight division, check out Pound for Pound. Just Google that on the YouTube page, and you'll find it. And we did a lot of NWA, a deep dive in the junior heavyweight division.
Did you know the modern day warrior Kevin Douglas was both on the East and West Coast within like the same month, where he defended the NWA World Junior Heavyweight Championship in Championship Wrestling from Hollywood, and then in Dangerous Adrenaline Wrestling Gladiators, that was featured on the Savoldi's television show NWA On Fire. I kind of mixed that one all together for you.
It was on the same, like literally the same weekend. It was on Championship Wrestling from Hollywood in LA and on NWA On Fire in the East. And it was like, wow, Kevin, you're a man about the country.
He also recently was around the same time was on NWA Mountain State Television against Kevin Owens, I think. I mean, Kevin Owens.
Chase Owens.
Chase Owens, yeah.
Yeah. The Savoldis had a thing for using TV from all over the place and putting it on their television program.
So Alan Angels, I think, would make an excellent addition to the NWA. I just don't. And you're right, Double D. You're right that I feel like they. The problem with the NWA all across the board is it's very similar to Tony Khan. William Patrick Corgan and Tony Khan are a lot more alike than people seem to realize, because something new and exciting comes up and we lose attention to what's important. The NWA, crowned these women tag team champions at the Pretty Empowered pay-per-view. Allison Kay and Marty Bell, the Hex. And it was kind of exciting, but they didn't bother to stock the farm with any decent tag team women. And you had something special with Ella Envy and Kenzie Paige. They went by Pretty Empowered. And then the division kind of fell off right after that. And when you put the belts on Pretty Empowered, there was no one for them to work with. And then you had this great idea to make M95, Maddie Renkowski and Misa Kate. They had a good thing going. And then Ren got signed and Misa Kate left the NWA. Okay. And the Renegade Twins, I might have this out of order. Renegade Twins were there. They got signed by ROH. They've had the King Bees in the NWA. They got either released or they went and stopped working for the NWA in whatever capacity. And there hasn't been a solid tag team in the NWA outside of whoever the champions are at the time. So,
did any of the women's tag teams wrestle on NWA Power this week?
Yeah, actually, they did.
There's a trans Devin.
Great segue. They were brought. Kenzie Paige teamed with Kylie Paige to take on the Moneybirds, who we saw just a few weeks ago when they were in Texas, Forney, Texas, and they're a very dynamic tag team. But I don't know if they're regulars for the NWA or these are just one-offs, you know? Who's got a TV on?
You might be able to hear my wife's in the other room. Sorry.
Oh, that's okay. They're like in the chat. They're like, I'm hearing someone's TV in the background. Yes, we're hearing a TV.
And you said TV is dead.
No, he didn't. Russell Lulz said it. Anyways. Yeah, so I guess going back to the junior heavyweight division, you're right. We lost 4 big names in that junior heavyweight division. They haven't really done much to replace it. You know, we look at the women's television title. We haven't seen Big Mama defend the TV title since we didn't even see her win the title, right? That happened in Chicago. We haven't seen the title in the NWA since it was surrendered by Max the Impaler before Crockett or before the anniversary show last year. So it's been almost a calendar year since we've seen a title defense for the Women's Television Championship. We've seen Big Mama win the United Wrestling Network title before we saw Big Mama defend the TV title. We saw Big Mama win the tag titles before we saw Big Mama defend the TV title. And I feel like, again, this is just another byproduct of, something more interesting for Billy to focus on. Forget the TV title. You know, they crowned the U.S. tag titles. He even said, well, we're going to use that more as a territory belt. There's a lot of inconsistencies when it comes to the NWA's, not storytelling, but straight up booking, how they're handling the wrestlers, how they handle the titles. When was the last time we saw Mims defend the national title?
I can't even say.
He wrestled against Wrecking Ball, I thought, but maybe I'm wrong.
I think that was taped at Hard Times. I don't think we've seen that matchup yet.
Well, what did we see on Power this week since it's 9:38?
Oh, you want to do that now? Now you want to do that?
He's trying to rush it.
Yeah, get it done and over with. It's like pulling off a Band-Aid.
So this week's Power, it's kind of hard to explain. They introduced a territory president. Now, this irked me, and I don't exactly know why. Well, I think I know why. I feel like for the entirety of the Billy Corgan Lightning One era that the NWA is trying to have a vote to make a new position within the company, whether, going back to, COVID days, they wanted to crown a mayor of Carneyville, right? Carneyland. They never did that. They never got to that. Then they were going to have an election for the general manager for NWA USA that I think Medusa won. And now they're trying to have an election for a president of the territories. What the fuck are we doing?
I gotta tell you that these commercials, because what was there, 2 or 3 that aired during the show?
At least
They were some of the most annoying segments of the television broadcast this week. I'll tell you that. There was 5?
That's what Double D's saying.
We had one for Kenzie Paige, one
remember
for
that.
Brian Idol, one for Joe Kazana, one for Trevor Murdoch, and one for EC3.
It wasn't even EC3. It's for the what's his name? The pastor. I can't remember his name.
Oh, I thought he was promoting EC3. I
Let me
didn't
tell
even
you,
understand his.
that whole Brian Idol segment, that dude is the worst actor when it comes to these.
And he has a SAG card.
And Hunter Drake has the worst handshake ever.
This stuff was irritating me, and I was like, okay, I hope the matches are better. But we'll get into that.
Noob just said what we were all thinking.
The best part of this television show was the actual production looked really good. Okay, because I feel bad that I keep ripping it apart every week. You know what I mean? But at this point,
you're just falling into the fold of the Alliance, guys. That's what we do here. So we rip it. We rip it because we love it. But yeah, Luthez just kind of nailed it. Called me old-fashioned, but isn't the NWA president supposed to be there to represent all the territories? Just more nonsensical bullshit from Cuba.
See, thank you, Luthez. That is exactly it. And I love Joe Kazana. He's great, but that segment was just terrible. It was just, he looked like a weird preacher or something like that.
Well, he looks like KFC. He looks like Colonel Sanders, and so okay. If we're going to expose the business, which I guess is what we're doing now, the role of a president. Look, Billy Corgan is the owner of the NWA. Billy Corgan is the president of the NWA. He's also the head booker of the NWA. So all of this,
commentator.
Yeah, and a commentator. He's not good at any of it.
No. No, he can't even find scout really good talent, because most of these people that he is bringing in are just people that are it looks like they're fresh out of school. They're very green, uninteresting. And you watch the NWA these days and it's botches galore each and every week. And it's on for 37 minutes, for crying out loud. The show. I count more botches in that 37 minutes than I do watching any other wrestling program at a local show that I go to.
And with all that being said, on top of all of that, you are the owner, you are the president, but you also have your own territory. Make that make sense.
Which they barely run shows, right?
Yeah, they run about every 3 months or something like that, quarterly. They have a show this next Friday, May 2nd.
Whenever he's not touring, basically, or he's in his home. Yeah.
Well, and to top that off, they keep calling Brian Idol the national booker, right? Why are you exposing the business to us like this? If he is the national booker and he is a wrestler, isn't that a conflict of interest? Isn't any time you put him into a title match, he's basically saying, well, I think this kid, Brian Idol, deserves it. So I, the booker, Brian Idol, is going to put the wrestler, Brian Idol, in this title match. What are we doing? You expose the business. You make it look stupid. If Brian Idol is your national booker, great. Keep that shit to yourself. Let him. Go ahead.
The stupidity that we watch each and every week on this show, I feel like Herb Abrams did a better job at booking. Okay.
What the hell happened to Marquisio?
Tell me I'm wrong.
I can't. Herb Abrams, man. He was booking Dr. Death Steve Williams.
He put on stacked shows. Billy can't he brings in a lot of people that look like they're fresh on the scene, fresh out of the wrestling school, etc., etc. And it's you need to, the National Wrestling Alliance is supposed to be prestigious. Those 3 letters are be all end all of professional wrestling in the history, if you think about it. Start getting guys that are just leaving companies. Back in the 80s and 90s, that's what was happening. Somebody was leaving a company, the other one would just snatch them up right away, vice versa, right? Billy Corgan got to get on his game.
Jinder Mahal has been out there for a while, and I'm not saying that Jinder Mahal is the answer, but he's a former WWE World Champion.
He's very underrated. I think that he does not get enough credit that he deserves, but I feel that if he came in right hot off the his release, he could have been a very valuable asset to that company.
I guess all that to say, you're telling me that you couldn't have an interesting storyline with Thom Latimer and Jinder Mahal, or maybe it was EC3 at the time. Even still, that would have been a very interesting dynamic because Jinder Mahal's much bigger than the average NWA wrestler. You know, the NWA is more on the bigger sized guys. I mean, Wrecking Ball Legursky, Jay Bradley, you know, the late Jack Stane, you know, Trevor Murdoch, Mike Knox. There's a lot of big dudes in that ring. Roswell just brought up Talos. A lot of big guys in that company. Jinder Mahal would have fit in there. I mean, obviously he's a lot bigger than EC3, and I think he would be a lot bigger than Thom Latimer, but it would have been an interesting dynamic. And I'm not saying you got to put the belt on the guy, but at least bring him in for a couple of shows. You know, you see MLW do that very well. MLW will bring in guys. You know, they brought in
Donovan Dijak, maybe.
There it is.
Yeah, Dijak. Yep.
Yeah, who's huge, and just saw him this past week at a Dangerous Adrenaline Wrestling Gladiators event. There's no reason why some company with television should really be focusing on him. He's amazing in that ring.
They should. I mean, why isn't the NWA jumping in and getting that? They don't want to pay. Excuse me. They don't want to pay somebody's guarantee. You know what I mean? They're not going to offer somebody like Dijak a contract, an exclusive contract, because I don't think that they'll be able to afford it or come to terms with him. That's just a personal opinion. But, you know, they probably have to pay him as a per show appearance. It'd probably be too much for them, for the NWA.
And so as excited as I am about Rhino wrestling for the World's Heavyweight Championship, I mean, there's the dynamic right there. I'm excited that Rhino's coming into wrestling for that world title. How much more excited would I be if it was somebody like Nick Nemeth? You know, I was never a Matt Cardona guy. I'm still not a Matt Cardona guy, so that didn't pop me. I mean, I was excited to see what he could bring to the table, but I don't feel like he had good chemistry with Trevor Murdoch.
I could see his marketability, though. You think about it, he was the hottest thing on the indies at that time period. I wasn't a Zack Ryder fan or Matt Cardona fan, but I could see his worth because, you know, he did a lot of stuff on his own to get attention, and it will work. And he brings fans, so it makes sense, you know?
Yeah. And I think anytime, like, you know, like Nick Aldis, if we're throwing everything out there, before Nick Aldis became involved with Billy Corgan's NWA, that role was supposed to be Drew McIntyre. I don't know if you guys are aware of this, but Drew McIntyre was supposed to be the guy. In fact, Billy and Dave Lagana did this whole like documentary about Drew McIntyre on the independent scene, trying to get back to that top level. And during the recording of that, the WWE called and he said, "Sorry guys, I have to take this. I have to take this opportunity for me and my family. It's a lot more money than I would make with you guys." And you know, obviously, Billy and Lagana understood that, and he went his way. The next person that was supposed to be was Eli Drake, LA Knight, but he was under contract with TNA Wrestling. Nick Aldis was the third guy, and I guess all of this to say is that they were willing to spend money for some talents. And now that the NWA has been running effectively for almost 7 years now, why are they not bringing in more of these big name talents? Why aren't, you know, Trevor Murdoch was great. I love this whole story of Trevor Murdoch, and the way he's treated in the NWA is pretty magical, right? But why haven't they done that with somebody else? Mike Knox, again, that's a feel-good moment when he, you know, he was basically out of wrestling and they brought him back in. Same thing with Trevor Murdoch. He was just about done with wrestling. They brought him back in. These are all great stories, but why not go after that guy who could be a difference maker? They've used Richard Holiday on the territories. Richard Holiday in the NWA, Hammerstone in the NWA. Why not make some of these big moves that will move the needle? You know, Thom Latimer and Rhino is going to be a fun match, and I'm really excited to see it. But I'd be lying if I told you that I wouldn't be more excited to see Hammerstone and Thom Latimer.
I think that would be a phenomenal match, and I think that Hammerstone looks like he could be a legit challenger for the world title. He's got the size, he's got the believability. He's a hell of a worker.
You know who else I like a lot right now that isn't being used? Carl Anderson.
There you go. There you go. That guy is a phenomenal wrestler. That guy could really come in. I mean, actually, both those guys could come in, whether they're doing a tag run, go for those titles against Knox and Murdoch, or have them come in and go after the title.
Or have them introduce them in the Crockett Cup and then slowly have Machine Gun work his way to the World Heavyweight title. I mean, that's how I would do it. But what do I know?
I just thought of something, though. If they did bring Jinder Mahal in while EC3 was the champion, it could have been the Brawl for Annabelle.
What?
The Brawl for Annabelle.
I don't know what you're saying right now.
It's a form of steroid.
Oh.
Very clever.
Obviously, none of you are juicers. No. You've been to the gym, Jay?
No, this is not juice. This is all man-made right here.
Jay posts gym pics every day. So
well, not every day. The special ones go on the other site that we won't talk about.
The ones with the GIMP mask?
Oh my God. We have fun here, guys. It's all jokes. It's jokes. Getting back to Power, and we'll just kind of
Speaking of jokes.
Good segue. The promos were pretty bad. The elections were bad. You had Brian Idol confront Hunter. And why is Hunter hanging out with his girlfriend's dad? And why do they have the camera shot right at the guy's crotch? Like, I don't need to stare at dude's crotch while they're on their phone.
Yeah, I noticed it too. Yeah, and I was like, when they went, went into that, I was just like, why is this even happening? Like this whole thing, it was just. So what is going on? At first, I thought it was just some random stuff going on. You know what I mean? I was like, oh, it's what's his face. It just made no sense. And then the argument that he had in, Idol, if I may use some foul language, is talking shit. You know what I mean? I'm just like you said, I was just like, I was like, dude, you are a bad actor. Get off my television.
You took some liberty with Markova. What? Huh? It was a wrestling match. She wanted to wrestle him. Yeah. That's what happens.
It's supposed to be a competitive sport, right? Yeah.
What did you think about this? Double D,
what did you think? Sorry.
Oh, no, this is where I seen Hunter Drake's limp handshake. Then, Rick kind of touched on it. Brian Idol, he definitely isn't the better actor in his relationship there.
Is he better as a wrestler or as an actor?
Oh, come on now.
He's wooden and laconic in both roles. It's funny because years ago, Brian Idol was on the Primetime Live series, and I saw him wrestle, and I go, this dude is the worst wrestler I've ever seen. At this level, he's terrible. And he's never improved to me. I've never been like, damn, that was a good Brian Idol match. The best promo he ever had was against Silas Mason. That led up to the match where Silas threw a chair at him while he dove out of the ring and broke his collarbone.
Which I don't get why he's not trying to go back to that.
No, he's good, man. He got his ass handed to him. He's good. He's gonna back away. No, I rode that lightning one time. I'm not gonna do it twice.
Now he's wrestling guys that get beat up by women.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Sean Baker goes, isn't Idol a trainer? Idol's a trainer. Idol's a booker. Idol's probably good at everything but what the camera showed.
Just because he's a terrible wrestler doesn't mean he's a bad trainer. There's a million terrible wrestlers that are better trainers. That's where they find their niche, I guess you could say.
Those that do, those that can't teach.
Oh my God. Jesus Christ, Jade. The segments were pretty bad. The whole election thing was bad.
So out of the 5 people, though, who are you guys voting for?
Fuck.
I want to see, is my guy Wrecking Ball going to run? All right. That's really, no.
It's Wrecking Ball running. That's, fuck, man. You might be onto something with that.
I vote for him for everything. That's my buddy. So.
Wrecking Ball.
Hey, he was recently on a Dangerous Adrenaline Wrestling Gladiator event out there at the Rowan University.
Yes, he took on Tyson Maddox. Did you see that match, Rick?
No, I did not. I haven't.
gotta
I don't watch. I don't watch wrestling unless I have to talk about it online.
Well, maybe we should do a Talk Dog podcast.
We'll do it.
There you go. There you go. I'm very far behind on my wrestling television. I hate to say it. So
if you have time, that was if they released that match as a single, I'll send it to you because it was a good match. His opponent was I forgot his name again. What was it again, Jaden?
Tyson Maddox. He's a beast.
Tyson Maddox.
He was
that dude's a big dude.
Where was he before? He was somewhere before, wasn't he?
Ohio Valley.
Trying to remember.
ECW.
No. Tyson Maddox wrestles in Big Japan Pro Wrestling mostly.
Okay. Well, he wasn't like somewhere. All right. I thought he worked over here somewhere for one of the bigger companies for a little while. Maybe not.
Wasn't
maybe
he in ROH for a bit?
No.
Okay.
My brain's going all over the place. I can't think.
If he did ROH, it's probably for Tony Khan's ROH because I think he has done some AEW too.
That's not ROH. It doesn't exist.
Rick is done. Rick is done with this. Okay, so then we had the television title match. Tyler Franks, not to be confused with Frank, challenged Carson Bartholomew Drake for the TV title. Probably one of the better Carson Drake matches, I'll be honest. And I'm really starting to dig Tyler Franks. He is from Crossfire. Our friends over at Hitting the Turnbuckle recently interviewed him, Fiona and John. I'll put the link on the channel tomorrow, but worth checking out. He talks about his development in the NWA. It was a good match. Not great, nothing groundbreaking. Double D, are you a Carson Drake fan? And if you are, no judgment, but I just want you to explain to me what you like about it.
I'm going to judge you. Just heads up.
Not going to lie, I do kind of like Carson Drake. I like him in the slime balls. They give that younger guy that, I don't know, that they're just going to do whatever they want to be, no matter what anyone says. Feeling, I just like it.
No, look. I've always said wrestling's subjective, but for weeks, months, I've been like, well, I'm not a Carson Drake fan. I don't see the appeal to him. So if you have that appeal and you're like you like him because he's more of a loose cannon, I guess, is that what you're saying?
Oh yeah, honestly, he's gonna be Carson Drake, no matter what. I mean, he's gotten shit all over the internet. Different people I've seen on IWCs have definitely hated on Carson Drake, but still, he does that little stupid dance that he's gonna do. He's gonna be Carson Drake. I like it. I really do.
First of all, is the best Carson Drake match like being the nicest guy in prison? But I just no Carson Drake. He is not popular. At least the slime balls are popular on Reddit. Reddit loves the slime balls. I don't even think Carson Drake's mother likes Carson Drake.
I don't even see it. Like, why are the slime balls popular?
The only thing I get about the slime balls is Sage reminds me of a young Johnny Yuma, which makes me think of the Rock Ness Monsters. And then I think of how cool the Rock Ness Monsters have been if one guy was a lot bigger than the other guy. And that's it. Like we know that they're going to be in the Crockett Cup. They're not for me, and that's okay. I understand that. I understand that the three of us on this side are a little bit older than Double D over here. And I think that's what makes the NWA interesting is that they're trying to appeal to a wider market and a wider fan base. And if these guys are getting over with the younger audience, I think that's cool. It's just I don't connect with it. So I don't see it. But, like Jaden said, that the slime balls are over on Reddit. So maybe, they're doing something. But with Carson Drake, I just don't. Nothing Carson Drake does is hitting for me. But with that being said, they had a pretty good match. And, of course, Carson Drake remained golden. That was 6. I think he needs one more to be 7. What's really weird about this whole Carson Drake thing is we already know that at Hard Times he gave up the television title to pursue the World Heavyweight Championship. We know that's going to come up soon. But that match was advertised. That's a done deal. Carson will cash in his lucky 7. It says it right there. But because the way that they film stuff, when he goes to the Squared Expo on Saturday, he's wrestling Enzo Amore, and they're calling it a TV title match. Now, card is always subject to change, but I can almost guarantee you that he'll be there with the TV title, and everyone will be like, wait, what? I don't get it, but that's just what the NWA does.
Reverse Freebird rules. They lost the tag belts before they won them.
Yeah. Go ahead, Double D.
Just before we move on from that match, I'm a big fan of Tyler Franks as well. I watched in about last year. He is in New South Pro Wrestling. He had a best of 7 series against Locksmith Brandon Williams. And that whole best of 7, I was enthralled for every match. So I'm a big fan of those two guys.
Now, is he considered a junior heavyweight?
I believe he would be. Yeah.
So then he would be a guy that perhaps maybe we could see something down the road with in that division. He looks good. Like, he had that really good match with Maxime Paler. He had a really good match with the world's heavyweight champion non-title, Thom Latimer. I think there's a lot of upside to that guy. And it's what's weird is he didn't come in with a lot of fanfare. Like, Carson Drake got a lot of fanfare when he came in. But I feel like even Hunter got more publicity than Tyler Franks. But I like the kid, and I think he does have a lot of upside. And then that takes us to the main event where we had another round of the Jack Stain Heavyweight Memorial Tournament to crown the number 1 contender for the World's Heavyweight Championship. And we had Kerry Morton taking on Frank, formerly known as Judeus, managed by Austin Idol. Now, this match was filmed before he made his debut at Forney, Texas. So it's kind of this weird dynamic that, the cat was already out of the bag for those who attend the live events. But for us watching it on TV, this was the second time we've seen him. And, they're kind of the whole stoic and almost like a mind-controlled style of wrestler. They're already doing that with Tim Storm. I don't know why they're doing it with Frank as well, but he's under the guidance, under the tutelage, under the mind control of Austin Idol. It was a decent match. Kerry Morton lost, which kind of surprised me. I felt like he was going to advance to the finals of this tournament, and for him to lose just means that there's no Southern Six in the finals of this tournament, and he lost cleanly. There was no outside interference. There was no Southern Six interference. It was just a straight up loss. Rick, what did you think of that match?
I couldn't get into it. I like Judeus, Frank, whatever.
Yeah.
Kerry still doesn't do it for me. He's improved greatly, but he's still just very young, kind of annoying, and not in a good way. Not like he's supposed to be. Just legitimately annoying. I'm sorry.
No,
I thought that when he was a baby face as well. I just in him as a heel, it just doesn't. I think he's best at his best when he's with the Southern Six with Silas and Alex Taylor. He's still annoying, but I think that he works well. They bounce off each other very well.
I think with him and the Southern Six, so like I literally witnessed Kerry Morton turn heel. When they went to Mexico, he was still a babyface in the States, but when he was in Mexico, he's flipping off the crowd. He's doing the crotch chops. He's humping the title in the air. It was really off-putting, but that's really when that pivot where he became a full-fledged heel, and before it was on TV. And I feel like that is where he's suited to be. He isn't the babyface his daddy was. He is a heel through and through. Add to that being a Nepo baby, I think just makes it even sweeter, right? He's somebody is very easy to dislike. And when you're anchored by Silas Mason, who's probably one of the most intimidating dudes on the roster, and Alex Taylor, who I don't think is intimidating, but obviously very well versed in the ring, if pushed the right way, that was a very formidable group. But lately it seems like they've given up on that group as well.
That seems to be the formula in the NWA. They get behind something and then they just, it all of a sudden, I changed my mind. Very similar to how Tony Khan works, and that happens a lot in the NWA with, things you're just like, Silas Mason, I feel should be that challenger for Thom Latimer. So I think he's a guy that could really carry the NWA into the future.
And with that being said, like if perhaps maybe they put Silas Mason in that role where the Southern Six was feuding with Thom Latimer, not Silas Mason, maybe
Right.
that would have been something. Double D, what were your thoughts on this match before we wrap it up for the night?
About the match, I'm kind of with you guys. I couldn't really get into the match. It was just too much of a mismatch from the start, and it's almost heel versus heel. So it was like, really, who are we supposed to go behind here? I'm a big fan of Southern Six as well. Like I really like the whole aspect of Kerry with Silas and with Alex Taylor. But like you guys are kind of touching Kerry Morton. He's such a he's a hateable heel. You really want to dislike him and dislike all the actions he's doing, but he's trying to act like he's a cool heel, in my opinion. He's trying to be like, look at me, I'm the cool bad guy, which he's not. He really needs to lay into that Carson Drake style, like,
right.
You need to hate me because I am a prick. I was handed all of this and I should be doing everything. Instead, he wants to throw in the cool shades. He wants to, like you said, crotch chop people. Like, no, Kerry, just be a prick like you're supposed to be. And even touching on Sean Mega's comment, I feel like there was a natural born, like, Colby Carino is that baby face that we should all be behind against the Southern Six. And he even had the team with him. It was the Fixers. They were with him. That was Colby Carino's guys. But, like, we also just touched on, NWA doesn't stick with storylines at all. And everything is fizzled apart. It should have been Colby versus Kerry in the finals, in my personal opinion. Like, we had Colby beat Kerry's guy because of Kerry. And it's the, like, fourth or fifth match. I don't know.
No, I feel like you're definitely onto something. Like, I kind of thought the foregone conclusion was going to be Silas versus Kerry, and that would instantly derail the Southern Six. But the fact that Colby got that victory over Silas, which was, to me, that was a huge upset. Yeah. Now you've got Colby in the pole position. Kerry's out. You know, we're going to get a finals of Frank versus Colby. Is that where we're heading? And if so, who do you even root for in that one? Like, I don't really want to see either one of those guys get a match against Thom in the 10 pounds of gold. But, you know, that's hopefully the NWA is aware of that and can book us out of this decision. We are at 2 hours, which is a little bit longer than I would like to go, but we are here anyways. We're going to wrap it up, but I want to give everyone a chance to plug something or plug their socials or all that stuff. So we're going to start with you, Double D. Tell us where people can find you on social media or what you're up to or all that.
Yeah, I'm Double D, Devin Dowling. You can find me on all social medias, X, Instagram, even Snapchat at DevinD19. That's about it.
Snapchat is for hussies, by the way. Rick, where can they find you?
You can find me on Instagram and X at the Rick Del Santo, and you'll see some interesting posts. I got a big announcement coming up, but I'm not going to tell you until next week. So there you go.
Big announcement, big news coming. All right, Jaden, tell us what's going on with Dangerous Adrenaline Wrestling Gladiator.
First of all, you can't find me anywhere because I don't do anything. And Dog will apparently soon be on Rumble. But, no, honestly, though, Dog right now has the next event on Saturday night, June 28th. At the Sacred Heart Church, located at 103 4th Street in beautiful, historic Riverton, New Jersey. Right now, already signed.
Wait, real quick. You sound like C3PO.
Well, do you want me to come back, or do you want me to just do this in my droid voice? Your choice.
Just do the droid voice.
C3PO, Human Cyborg Relations. Anyway. Dangerous Adrenaline Wrestling Gladiators come back, and I don't know, I can't do an Australian droid voice now. But Dangerous Adrenaline Wrestling Gladiators is going to be at the Sacred Heart Church, located at 103 4th Street in beautiful, historic Riverton, New Jersey. Currently signed, former WWE, Ring of Honor, and OVW superstar King Tolan will be in action. You'll also see OVW, as seen on the Netflix special, The Wrestlers, is going to be DGAT Bundles. He'll be there. The new Dangerous Adrenaline Wrestling Gladiators Heavyweight Champion, the Fixer, will be in action. You'll see the World Wrestling Grand Prix Women's Champion Valerie Verman will be in action. The World Wrestling Grand Prix Heavyweight Champion in David Goldie will be defending his championship, and already signed for the Dangerous Adrenaline Wrestling Gladiators Tag Team Championship. The War Devils of Dave Dahl and Dylan Mesh will defend against former Ring of Honor wrestlers when Ring of Honor was actually a real company and meant something. You're going to see them against oh crap, I can't remember the name now. I went on in the introduction, I forgot their name. But it's against crap. This is where brain damage is, by the way. I've been listening to the problem is I listen to NWA Power and it ruined my brain right now. But they're going to be defending the dog tag team titles are going to be on the line, and I'll announce the match next week because I can't remember who they're supposed to defend against. Even though I just went to go say it until I gave them the Ring of Honor entrance, and now all of a sudden now I forgot everybody about it. But yeah, if there's going to be matches, check out dogprowrestling.com. All the stuff that's on YouTube, it will be coming out for both the South Jersey Geek Fest and for Rowan University. They'll be putting matches out soon. So make sure to check out YouTube, like, comment, subscribe, and share. And check out all the information on all the socials. I have no idea what they are because I don't do the social media thing. But check them all out. Go to dogprowrestling.com. We'll have to have Blue Sky there and Reddit and everything else. I think they have me added to that. But yeah.
One of these days, I'll compile them all and have them ready to go.
Buy some Dubby.
That's going to be it for us for this evening. I want to thank everyone. What?
Trophy Smack.
Trophy Smack. Oh, and then don't forget, we have a wide variety of T-shirts, baseball caps, and coffee mugs. Buy the shirt. I need to buy this one. I need to buy the Angels Look shirt. I love that one. And anyways,
I like the Alliance one. I'm going to get rowdy with that.
Yeah, that one's a good one too. We're working on a few more shirt designs.
Primal Fear. That's who the tag team championship will be on the line. Primal Fear. Daredevil Dave Dahl and Dylan Mesh will defend against Primal Fear, former Ring of Honor wrestlers.
Excellent. So, okay, that's going to do it for us this week. Next week should be a very interesting program. More details to come as they follow. But like, comment, subscribe. It helps with the algorithm. You could find the Alliance blog on all social media at the Alliance blog. Hopefully, maybe a Rumble channel, I guess, is in the works. But until then,
let's get ready to Rumble.
Oh, my God.
Hit that bell for the notifications.
There it is. Hit the bell for the notifications. I love it. All right. See you at the matches. Thanks for joining the stream. This has been a presentation of Alliance-Wrestling.com. We genuinely appreciate your support. Would you consider subscribing so you'll never miss a future episode? I'd also like to remind you we do a live stream every Tuesday at 5 p.m. before NWA Power. You can find us on social media at the Alliance blog. And until next time, we are